This episode of the Story Cottage is brought to you by our friends at Domestic Dominion, the Kings Ridge Elderberries, and our supporters on Buzzsprout. Go to thestorycottage.buzzsprout.com or click the Support the Show link in the show notes and subscribe for just $5 a month to get every episode ad-free. And now, on with the show. Fairy tales, folklore, myths, and legends. Why do children need them? Why do nations and peoples create them? Who knows? Maybe some of them are real. Maybe some are merely imaginative. Is there a hidden wisdom worth finding in these tall tales? Proverbs 1:5-6 says, "Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance, to understand a proverb and a saying, the words of the wise and their riddles." We're your hosts, Jerry and Amy Davidson. Welcome to the Story Cottage. Please step inside.
There were once 3 bears who lived together in a little house in the middle of a wood. One of them was a little small wee bear. One was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great huge bear. And they each had a pot to eat their porridge from, a little pot for the small little wee bear, a middle-sized pot for the middle-sized bear, and a great big pot for the great huge bear. And they each had a chair to sit on, a little chair for the little small wee bear, a middle-sized chair for the middle-sized bear, and a great big chair for the great huge bear. And they each had a bed to sleep in, a little bed for the little small wee bear, a middle-sized bed for the middle-sized bear, and a great big bed for the great huge bear. One day, they made the porridge for their breakfast and poured it into their porridge pots, and then went out in the wood for a walk while the porridge for their breakfast was cooling. And while they were out walking, a little old woman came to the house in the wood and peeped inside. First, she peeped through the keyhole. Then, she peeped through the window. Then, she lifted the latch and peeped through the doorway. And, seeing nobody in the house, she walked in. And when she saw the porridge cooling on the table, she was very pleased, for she had walked a long way and was getting hungry. So first, she tasted the porridge of the great huge bear, but that was too hot. Then she tasted the porridge of the middle-sized bear, but that was too cold. And then she tasted the porridge of the little small wee bear, and that was neither too hot nor too cold, but just right. And she liked it so much that she ate it all up. Then the little old woman sat down in the chair of the great huge bear, but that was too hard. Then she sat down in the chair of the middle-sized bear, but that was too soft. Then she sat down in the chair of the little small wee bear, and that was neither too hard nor too soft, but just right. And she liked it so much that she sat in it until suddenly the bottom came out and she fell down plump upon the ground. Honey, I need help!
Why? What's wrong?
There are dragons in our laundry and dishwasher.
Hang on, dear. I'm getting my sword.
No, wait. These dragons cannot be killed by a sword.
They've never tasted my blade.
I know, but all we need to kill these dragons is detergent from Domestic Dominion.
Okay, then we must make haste. How do we get some?
By going to domestic-dominion.com and entering code STORY. Ladies, our husbands are great for so many things, including slaying the run-of-the-mill dragons. But sometimes there are monsters that sneak through even the best defenses, like the toxins and chemicals in your laundry and dish detergents. And often, those supposedly clean detergents at the store are just pretty little poisoned apples. That's where Domestic Dominion can help. They're a small, family-owned and operated Christian business whose mission is to create clean, natural, quality products that aid the homemaker and create a culture of joy, health, and stewardship to the glory of God. They value the Lord and therefore value their products. All their products are effective and made with only 4 ingredients. Each product is non-toxic, pH balanced, and contains no surfactants, fragrances, or chemicals. They leave no chemical residue, and their laundry detergent is safe to use on any kind of clothing. We use their products in our home, and let me tell you, every load comes out smelling the way Cinderella's dress looks. With Domestic Dominion, you'll have a ball doing laundry. Go to their website, domestic-dominion.com, or click the link in the show notes. And use code STORY for 20% off your first order. And be sure to check out their aprons, linen covers, and anti-feminist stickers while you're there. That's domestic-dominion.com and use code STORY for 20% off your first order.
Tired of evil fairies using cold and flu season to turn you and your children into ogres every year? Yeah, me too. This cold and flu season, fortify your defenses naturally with the King's Ridge elderberry syrup and elderberry products. They grow the freshest elderberries on their Indiana farm, hand-pick and cold-press them into the tastiest syrup around. And they are packed with antioxidants and vitamins to boost your immune system. Defend the castle of your family's health. Use code STORY10 for 10% off your first order at tkrfarm.com. The King's Ridge elderberry syrup. Taste the difference. Help push back the curse. That's tkrfarm.com and use code STORY10 for 10% off your first order.
Then the little old woman went upstairs into the bedroom where the 3 bears slept. First she lay down on the bed of the great huge bear, but that was too high at the head for her. Then she lay down on the bed of the middle-sized bear, but that was too high at the foot for her. So then she lay down on the bed of the little small wee bear, and that was neither too high at the head nor too high at the foot, but just right. And she liked it so much that she covered herself up and lay there until she fell fast asleep. By and by, the 3 bears came home to breakfast. Now, the little old woman had left the spoon of the great huge bear standing in his porridge pot.
"Somebody's been at my porridge,"
said the great huge bear in his great rough, gruff voice. And when the middle-sized bear looked, she saw that the spoon was standing in her porridge pot too. "Well, somebody has been eating at my porridge," said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the little small wee bear looked, and there was a spoon in his porridge pot, but the porridge was all gone. "Somebody has been at my porridge and has eaten it all up," said the little small wee bear in his little small wee voice. Then the 3 bears began to look about them. Now the little old woman had not put the hard cushion straight after she had sat in the chair of the great huge bear.
"Somebody's been sitting in my chair,"
said the great huge bear in his great rough, gruff voice. And the little old woman had squashed the soft cushion of the middle-sized bear. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. And you know what the little old woman had done to the 3rd chair? "Somebody's been sitting in my chair and has sat the bottom out," said the little small wee bear in his little small wee voice. Then the 3 bears went upstairs into the bedroom. Now the little old woman had pulled the pillow of the great huge bear out of its place.
"Somebody's been lying in my bed,"
said the great huge bear in his great rough, gruff voice. And the little old woman had pulled the bolster of the middle-sized bear out of its place. "Somebody has been lying in my bed," said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. And when the little small wee bear came to look at his bed, there was the bolster in its place, and the pillow in its place upon the bolster, and upon the pillow was the little old woman's head, which was not in its place, for she had no business there at all. "Somebody's been lying in my bed, and here she is!" cried the little small wee bear in his little small wee voice. The little old woman had heard in her sleep the great, rough, gruff voice of the great, huge bear, but she was so fast asleep that it seemed to her no more than the roaring of the wind or the rumbling of thunder. And she had heard the middle-sized voice of the middle-sized bear, but it was only as if she had heard someone speaking in a dream. But when she heard the little small wee voice of the little small wee bear, it was so sharp and shrill that it woke her up at once. Up she started, and when she saw the three bears on one side of the bed, she tumbled out the other, jumped out of the window, and ran away through the wood to her own home, and the three bears never saw anything more of her.
All right, welcome to episode 7 of the Story Cottage, The Three Bears. Obviously, this is a slightly different version, but we'll get into that. So first question, what sort of values do we see in the characters in this story?
Well, we can really only look at the old lady in this story. The three bears are pretty chill, all things considered. We didn't use the common Goldilocks story here because there isn't a lot there. Here, we have an old lady who is snooping around someone else's house. She values curiosity and impulses. She goes inside the house, eats their food, sits in their chairs, and sleeps in their beds. It is quite rude.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
So next question, what can you learn to apply these things in your daily life?
Well, I thought about this, and what we learn from this we can apply in 2 ways. So first, don't oblige yourself to other people's things. We're not talking about stealing necessarily, but don't be a rude guest in someone else's home. Mm-hmm. If you are a guest, you shouldn't just assume any of the snacks or drinks in the pantry are yours for the taking. Be polite and don't be grabby. Second, it's an easy thing, I think, to make this same type of mistake in conversation and community. Some people want to make sure they say everything that is on their mind or that they want to brag about to everyone they talk to. We are all guilty of this in a lot of ways, but don't be a rude friend who waits for the slightest breath to jump in on someone else's sentence so that you can say the thing you want to say. Don't be rude or interrupt people. Be polite. Be the kind of friend the three bears would want to invite over.
Okay, well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Story Cottage.
We'll see you next time, guys.
Toodaloo.
Thank you for joining us here at the Story Cottage. If you liked what you heard, smash that follow button and leave us a 5-star review. It tremendously helps with the algorithms so folks like you can find us. Go to thestorycottage.buzzsprout.com or click the support the show link in the show notes to subscribe for $5 a month to get every episode ad-free. And follow us on X, Instagram, or Facebook. And please, join us next time.